When I discovered his secret, it was already too late. I'm going to tell you my story. But first, like this video right now, and tell me in the comments, where are you from? And most importantly, what would you do in my place? Because after that night, nothing was ever the same. When I discovered his secret, it was already too late. I'm going to tell you my story. But first, like this video right now, and tell me in the comments, where are you from? And most importantly, what would you do in my place? Because after that night, nothing was ever the same. I was dying. Blood, my blood, ran hot down my neck, soaking my shirt, dripping onto the cold concrete floor of the abandoned warehouse where Mara had chained me 3 hours ago. Or was it 4? Time loses meaning when you're bleeding to death. He'll come, Mara purred, her fingers so cold, tracing the wound she'd opened on my throat, not deep enough to kill me quickly, just deep enough to make me bleed. Slowly, painfully. Your precious enforcer will smell your blood for miles, and when he comes, she smiled, fangs gleaming in the faint light. I'll make him watch you die. I should have been terrified. I should have been begging, but all I could think was, how did I get here? How did an archivist, a 28-year-old with a PhD who only wanted to catalog ancient books and live a quiet life, end up chained in a warehouse, being used as bait to lure an 800-year-old vampire who had somehow become the most important person in my life? The answer, I realized as my vision began to darken at the edges, started 3 months ago, with a man who only came to the library at midnight, and with the impossible choice I made, the choice that led us here, the choice that could very well kill us both. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me go back to the beginning, to the moment everything changed, to the night I met Lucian Thorne. There are patterns in everything, if you know where to look. My name is Sophia Reeves. I'm 28 years old. I have a PhD in medieval studies, and I work as a senior archivist at the Newberry Library in Chicago. I've spent the last 6 years of my life studying ancient manuscripts, deciphering texts that most people will never even know exist. And for the past 3 months, I'd been studying someone who definitely shouldn't have existed. He first appeared on a Friday, July 13th, at 11:45 p.m., 15 minutes before we closed. Most late-night visitors are desperate students or obsessed academics. He was neither. He was tall, maybe 6'3", a custom-tailored suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary, dark hair slicked back, revealing a high forehead and aristocratic features. And eyes. God, those eyes. The color of aged whiskey, with depths that suggested secrets I should never want to know. "Good evening," he said, his voice carrying an accent I couldn't quite place. British, perhaps, but with nuances of something far older. "I'm looking for texts on medieval alchemy, specifically manuscripts relating to transmutation." He was professional, polite, utterly normal. Except he wasn't. His eyes never blinked. Not once during our entire 20-minute conversation. His skin was too pale, even for someone who spent a lot of time in libraries. And when he took the manuscript I brought him, a 14th century text on the Philosopher's Stone, his hands were cold enough that I felt the chill through the cotton gloves we both wore. He came back the next Friday. Same time. Same impeccable politeness. Same subtle strangeness that made my skin prickle. And the next Friday. And the next. For 3 months, he came every Friday at 11:45 p.m., always asking for texts on alchemy, always staying precisely until we closed at midnight. He never told me his name, never asked personal questions, never crossed the line between patron and archivist, but the way he looked at me, as if he were memorizing every detail, as if he were waiting for something, as if he knew something about me that I didn't even know myself. I started dreaming about him. Strange, vivid dreams, where he called me by the name he'd never spoken, where his cold hands touched my skin and I felt no chill, only hunger. I'd wake up sweating, my heart pounding, with the persistent feeling that I was forgetting something important. This night, Friday, October 13th, exactly 3 months since he first appeared, something was different. I felt it in the air, a tension, an expectation, as if the universe were holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. It was 11:30 p.m., 30 minutes until we closed. The library was empty except for me and the heavy silence of thousands of books guarding thousands of secrets. I was cataloging a newly acquired manuscript, a 13th century text on alchemical practices, when I felt that sensation of being watched, that prickle on the back of my neck that means you are not alone. I looked up. He was standing across the room, near the stacks of rare texts, not at the entrance, not walking toward me, just there, as if he'd materialized from the shadows. Our eyes met across the distance, and something passed between us. Recognition, inevitability, as if this moment had been written in the stars long before either of us were born. He started walking toward me, and every step felt weighted with meaning. Not the casual stride of a patron, the deliberate approach of a predator who had finally decided to claim his prey. My heart began to pound faster. Not from fear, from anticipation. He stopped at the far side of my desk, those whiskey-colored eyes fixed on mine with an intensity that stole my breath. "Good evening, Sophia," he said, and the world changed. "You know my name," I managed to say, my voice weaker than I would have liked. "I know many things about you." He leaned slightly over the desk, and I could feel the cold emanating from him. Not uncomfortable, just present. "I know you have a PhD in medieval studies from the University of Chicago. I know your dissertation on alchemical symbolism in medieval manuscripts was published by Oxford University Press. I know you lost your mother 2 years ago to cancer, and that you still wear the necklace she gave you on your 18th birthday." My hand flew instinctively to the small silver locket at my throat. "How do you—" "I know you live alone in an apartment on Clark Street. I know you have a cat named Minerva. I know you take your coffee black with 2 sugars and that you always triple check that you've locked the door before you sleep." I should have been terrified. I should have been calling security. Instead, I found myself asking, Why do you know all these things about me?" "Because," he said, and for the first time in 3 months, I saw real emotion in his face, something that looked suspiciously like pain. "Because I have been watching you, studying you, trying to understand why, after 800 years of existence, you are the first person who makes me feel something." 800 years. The words should have sounded like madness. They should have made me laugh or run or call for help. Instead, they clicked into place, like the last piece of a puzzle I hadn't even known I was assembling. "You're not human," I said. It wasn't a question. "No." How long have you been coming here? Not just the past 3 months. Before that." Something passed over his face. Surprise, perhaps. "You noticed. I catalog manuscripts for a living. I recognize patterns, and there are visitor logs going back decades, all describing a tall gentleman of distinct appearance who looks exactly like you. Always asking for the same types of texts, always coming late at night." I stood up, my academic curiosity finally overriding my caution. The earliest mention I found was from 1952, a tall gentleman of distinguished appearance who requested access to the Codex Sanguis. 1952, he repeated, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. I was searching for something that year. Someone, actually. A rogue vampire who had broken our laws. He was hiding in Chicago, using libraries to research ways to become more powerful. Vampire. The word came out calmer than I expected. "You're a vampire." "Yes. Prove it." He blinked, clearly not expecting that response. "Prove it." "I'm an academic. I don't accept extraordinary claims without extraordinary evidence." I crossed my arms, forcing my voice to remain steady. "If you're a vampire, prove it." For a long moment, he just looked at me. Then, slowly, deliberately, he smiled. His fangs descended, really descended, sliding down from somewhere hidden in his gum line until they were fully visible. Long, sharp, deadly. "Is that sufficient?" he asked, his voice slightly distorted by the elongated teeth. "Or do you require further evidence?" My heart was pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it. But it wasn't fear. It was exhilaration, the thrill of discovering that the impossible was real. More, I heard myself say. He moved. He didn't walk. He didn't run. He was just on the other side of the desk. And then he was beside me, so fast my eyes couldn't track the movement. I can move faster than your vision can process, he said softly, his voice now coming from just behind me. I spun around, and he was there, inches away. I can hear your heart pounding, 156 beats per minute. I can smell your perfume, jasmine and vanilla. I can see in the dark as if it were day, and I can... He paused, his jaw tightening. Can what? I can smell your blood, oh positive, if I'm not mistaken, with a hint of iron that suggests you should be taking supplements. His eyes, which I now realized were beginning to glow faintly red, met mine, and I can tell you that your blood smells better than anything I have smelled in 800 years. I should have recoiled. I should have put distance between us. Instead, I took a step closer. You want to bite me. He made a low sound in his throat, half groan, half growl, more than you can imagine. But I won't. Why not? Because, he said, and there was so much pain in his voice my heart ached, because if I taste you, if I take even a drop of your blood, I will want more. I will want all of it. And I will not turn you into what I am. Perhaps I want to be turned. You do not know what you are saying. Then explain it to me. I placed my hand on his arm, and even through the fabric of his suit, I could feel the cold. Tell me. Everything. Who you are. What you are. Why you've been coming here for decades. Why you've been watching me. He looked down at my hand on his arm, as if it were the most precious thing he had ever seen. My name, he said finally, is Lucian Thorn. I was born in 1178 in a small village in what is now France. I was turned into a vampire in 1203, during the Fourth Crusade, by an ancient vampire who thought I would make a good soldier in his private war. He pulled away, putting distance between us, as if my proximity made it difficult to think. I spent the first 100 years as a monster, killing, feeding indiscriminately, without conscience. Then I met someone, a human, a scholar like you, who showed me that I could be more than my hunger. What happened to her? She aged. She died. And I continued. His voice was empty. That was 500 years ago, and since then, I have avoided connections, avoided feeling. Because feeling, when you are immortal, is a curse. Then why are you here? Why watch me? He turned to face me, and the raw vulnerability in his eyes hit me like a physical blow. Because 3 months ago, I came to this library looking for a specific text, and I saw you. And for the first time in 500 years, I felt something beyond emptiness. He took a step toward me. You were cataloging a 15th century manuscript. There was a stray strand of hair that had escaped your bun. You were biting your lower lip the way you do when you are concentrating. And when you looked up and saw me, you smiled. And something within me that had been dead for centuries awakened. The air between us seemed charged, electrified. Lucian, I began, but he shook his head. No, you must understand. I am not a man, Sophia. I am a predator, a monster. And you, his voice broke, you are light and life and everything I do not deserve. That's not your decision, I said, surprising myself with the firmness in my voice. You don't decide what I deserve or don't deserve. I decide. And what do you decide? I looked at him. This impossible vampire who had watched me for 3 months, who knew intimate details of my life, who looked at me as if I were something precious and terrifying all at once. I decide, I said slowly, that I want to know more. I want to understand your world. I trailed off, because what I was about to say was madness. You want what? He was closer now, though I hadn't seen him move. I want to know why I dream about you every night. Why I wake up with the feeling that I'm forgetting something important. Why, when you walk into this library, I feel as if I can finally breathe. His eyes widened. You dream of me. Every night for 3 months. Sophia. He raised his hand, fingers hovering inches from my cheek. Not touching, but close enough that I could feel the cold. This should not be possible. Unless what? Unless you are my mate. The word hung in the air between us, heavy with meaning that I didn't fully comprehend but felt in my bones. What is a mate? Something rare, something most vampires never find. His hand finally made contact, fingers tracing the line of my jaw with a reverence that made my heart pound. It is a connection, a bond. When a vampire finds their mate, it is inevitable. You feel their presence. You dream of them. You long for them in ways that go beyond the physical. You feel this. For me. From the moment I saw you, his hand dropped. That is why I have kept my distance. That is why I never told you my name, never tried to touch you. Because if I begin, I will not be able to stop. And you deserve more than to be shackled to a monster for all eternity. Stop calling yourself a monster. It is what I am. No. I took his hand. Cold, so cold, but somehow right, and placed it over my heart. A monster wouldn't have kept its distance. A monster wouldn't care what I deserve. A monster wouldn't be here, torturing itself for feeling something. He looked down at where his hand rested over my heart, feeling it beat against his palm. You are not afraid of me, he said, wonder in his voice. Should I be? Yes. No. I do not know. He closed his eyes. Sophia, if we pursue this, it will change your life. You will enter a world that most humans never know exists, a world of danger and vampire politics and threats you cannot imagine. Or, I said softly, it will be the adventure of my life. He opened his eyes, and I saw hope there, fragile, frightened, but real. Do you truly want this? Want me? I don't know yet, I admitted honestly, but I want to find out. I want time to get to know you, to understand what this means, to decide if... I trailed off, blushing. If what? He was closer now, though I hadn't seen him move. If what I feel is real, or just vampire chemistry, he smiled. A real, genuine smile that transformed his face from handsome to devastating. Then let us find out. Together, I agreed. And that's when we heard the glass shatter. Lucian pushed me behind him so fast I barely saw the movement. 1 second we were standing near my desk. The next, he was between me and the door, his body a protective barrier. Stay behind me, he said. And his voice had changed. Deeper, more dangerous. No matter what happens, stay behind me. Lucian, what? 3 figures entered through the broken window. Not through the door, through the second-story window, as if dropping 20 feet was nothing. 2 men and a woman, all in their 20s, all beautiful in that unsettling way that made my brain scream, wrong, wrong, wrong. Lucian Thorne. The woman purred, her eyes, red, glowing red, fixed on him. The council's enforcer. What a surprise to find you here. Mara. Lucian's voice was pure ice. You were exiled from Chicago. To be here is a death sentence. Only if you catch me. She took a step closer, and Lucian growled. Really growled, the sound coming from somewhere deep in his chest. And you seem distracted. Is it the human? Is she your mate? My stomach clenched. How did she know? She is none of your concern. Oh, but she is. Mara's smile was cruel. You see, the council has rules about human mates, rules about turning, rules about exposure. And you, Lucian Thorne, the perfect enforcer, are breaking every single one of them. I have broken no rules. Not yet. But you will. Because mates cannot stay apart. The connection pulls them together, no matter how hard you fight it. She tilted her head, studying me. How long until you turn her, Lucian? A month? A week? Or will you wait until another vampire finds her and turns her first? No one will touch her. So protective, so predictable. Mara gestured to her companions. Get the girl. Everything happened at once. The 2 male vampires moved, too fast for my eyes to follow. Lucian moved to intercept them, and suddenly the library was a blur of violence. Mara stood still, watching with clinical interest as Lucian fought two vampires at once. "He is good," she commented casually, as if watching a sporting event. "But not good enough. Not when he is torn between fighting and protecting you." She was right. Lucian was holding back. Every move he made was calculated not just to defeat his opponents, but to keep them away from me. And he was losing. One of the vampires managed to get past his defense, coming straight for me. I grabbed the first thing I could reach, a heavy bronze bookend, and swung it with all my might. It struck the vampire on the side of the head with a satisfying clang of metal meeting bone. He staggered, more surprised than hurt, and it was just enough time for Lucian to reach him. What happened next was brutal and swift. Lucian grabbed the vampire by the neck and twisted. The sound of snapping bone echoed through the silent library. The body dropped to the floor, motionless. "You killed him," I whispered. "He will heal." Eventually, Lucian didn't take his eyes off the remaining vampires, but it will hurt. The second male vampire looked at his fallen companion and then at Lucian. Something passed over his face. Fear, perhaps, or grudging respect. "Mara," he said, his voice tight. "Perhaps we should—" Silence. Mara took a step forward, and for the first time, I saw true danger in her eyes. "You wish to play the hero, Lucian? You wish to protect your little human mate? Let us see how far you are willing to go." She moved, and this time, it was straight for me. Lucian intercepted her, but the impact sent them crashing through my desk, wood splintering. They rolled, a tangle of limbs and fangs and violence that was terrifying to witness. "Run!" Lucian roared. "Sophia, run!" Every instinct screamed for me to obey, to run, to save myself. I couldn't leave him. Instead, I pulled out my phone and dialed the only number I knew would help. 911, what is your emergency? "I'm at the Newberry Library. There are intruders. They're armed and dangerous. Please, send help." I hung up before they could ask any more questions. Sirens. The police would come, and vampires, apparently, didn't want police attention. Mara heard it. Of course she did. Her vampiric ears likely caught the entire conversation. She pulled away from Lucian, her face streaked with blood. His or hers? I couldn't tell. "Clever," she said, wiping her mouth. "But that only buys time. We will meet again, Dr. Reeves. And next time, your vampiric protector may not be around." She and her conscious companion vanished through the broken window, leaving behind only the unconscious vampire and destruction in their wake. Lucian was at my side in an instant, his hands running over my body, checking for injuries. "Are you hurt? Did he touch you? If he touched you, I will—" "I'm fine." I grabbed his hands, forcing him to look at me. "I'm fine, Lucian. But you're not." He was bleeding. Not badly, but enough that I could see cuts on his face, his neck, his hands. "I will heal." "How long?" "A few hours." He looked at the broken window, then at me. "We need to leave here. The police will be arriving, and there will be questions you cannot answer. I can't just leave the library like this. Sophia." He cupped my face in his hands, forcing me to focus on him. "Mara knows about you now. She knows you are my mate. That makes you a target. For her, for any vampire who wishes to hurt me, for the council if they decide you are a threat. The council? The governing vampire body. They have rules, laws, and I have just broken several of them by revealing our existence to you. Then what do we do?" He looked at me for a long moment, conflict clear on his face. "I take you to a safe place, protect you until we can figure out what Mara is planning. And then—" He paused. And then you decide. If you want this world, if you want me, if you are willing to risk everything for what we could have together." Sirens were growing louder, closer. "Let's go," I said, taking his hand. "I'll decide later. Right now, just get me out of here." He scooped me into his arms, literally scooped me, as if I weighed nothing, and then we were moving. Fast. So fast the world became a blur. When we finally stopped, we were on the rooftop of a building blocks away. Chicago spread out beneath us like a sea of lights. "Welcome," Lucian said softly, still holding me. "To my world." Lucian's safe house was not what I expected. It wasn't a Gothic mansion or a shadowy castle. It was a modern penthouse in a downtown Chicago skyscraper. All glass and clean lines and a view of the lake. "You seem surprised," he observed as he led me inside. "I expected something more vampiric," he smiled. "Coffins and candelabras." I apologize for the disappointment. The interior was elegant but comfortable. Leather sofas, bookshelves filled with books, some clearly ancient, others brand new. Art on the walls that probably cost a fortune. And everywhere, security, cameras, sensors, reinforced doors. "Do you live here alone?" I asked. "Yes, I have for 15 years, I think. Before that, I was in New York. Before that, London. Before that." He shrugged. "You move around a lot when you are immortal." The reality of the situation was starting to hit me. I was in a vampire's home. A vampire who had told me I was his mate. A vampire who had just fought 3 other vampires to protect me. My legs suddenly felt weak. "Sit," Lucian said immediately, guiding me to the sofa. "You are in shock." "It is normal. Normal," I repeated, and then I laughed. A hysterical sound I couldn't control. "Nothing about this is normal. Vampires are real. You are real. And apparently I am your mate," he finished softly. "But only if you wish to be. How does it work? This mate thing." He sat beside me, keeping a careful distance between us, as if he were afraid his touch might frighten me. "It is rare," he began. "Most vampires never find their mate. Some search for centuries and never do. But when it happens, it is inevitable. You feel their presence. You dream of them. You long for them. And if the mate is human, then there is a choice. The human can be turned, becoming a vampire. Or," he paused, or they age and die, and the vampire spends the rest of eternity alone. Because once you find your mate, no one else will ever suffice." The weight of it hit me. "So if I don't want to be turned, then I will protect you for as long as you live. I will love you for as long as you let me. And when you are gone, I will carry your memory through all the centuries I have left." Tears pricked my eyes. "That's not fair to you. Life is rarely fair, Sophia. But to have you for 50 years is better than to not have you at all. You barely know me. I have known you for 3 months. I know how you bite your lip when you are concentrating. I know you take your coffee black with 2 sugars. I know you talk to your cat as if she can respond. I know you cry watching puppy commercials, and that you laugh when you are nervous, and that you are the bravest person I have ever met. Lucian. And I know," he continued, his voice growing softer, "that when you look at me, you do not see a monster. You see only me. And that is more precious than you can imagine." I reached out, fingers lightly touching his face. He closed his eyes at the touch, as if it were both pleasure and pain. "You're cold," I observed. "I always am. The dead tend to be. You're not dead. You're right here, talking to me, feeling things. Technically, I am dead. My heart does not beat. I do not breathe unless I am speaking. My body is at room temperature." He opened his eyes. "Does that bother you?" No. And it was true. His coldness didn't feel wrong, just different. "Can I ask you something? Anything? You said you feed on blood. How does that work?" He pulled away, putting distance between us again. "I require blood to survive. Without it, I grow weak. Eventually, I would enter a kind of hibernation. How often do you need to feed?" "Once a week, usually. More if I am injured or expending much energy." Do you kill people?" "No." The answer was firm, definitive. "Not for 500 years. I have sources, blood banks, willing donors who know what I am and agree to assist. Willing donors. Humans who are aware of our existence. Some do it for money, some for other reasons." He didn't elaborate, and I didn't press. What if you didn't have those sources? If you were desperate? He looked at me, and I saw brutal truth in his eyes. Then I would feed, because the instinct for survival outweighs morality when you are starving. But I would not kill. I would never kill. You have killed before. Yes, many times. In my first 100 years, I was a monster. I killed without thought, without care. And I carry those deaths with me every day. But you changed. I tried to change. I do not know if I will ever atone for what I have done. But I try. Every day, I try to be better than I was. I looked at this vampire, this impossible man who carried 800 years of guilt and pain, and tried to be better. You're not a monster, Lucian. You have not seen me at my worst. I don't need to. I see you now. I see someone who cares enough to hate himself for what he has done. Monsters don't hate themselves. They don't try to change. He looked at me for a long moment, something vulnerable and hopeful in his eyes. Stay this night, he said softly. Let me protect you. Tomorrow, we can figure out the rest. The rest? What Mara is planning. Why she is in Chicago. How to keep you safe. He paused. And what you want. From me. From all of this. I should have said no. I should have insisted on going home. To my normal life. Far away from vampires and danger and impossible connections. But when I looked at Lucian, really looked, past the cold and the fangs and the 800 years, I saw something I recognized. Loneliness. The same loneliness that had haunted me since my mother died. The feeling of always searching for something I could never quite find. And somehow, impossibly, I had found it in him. All right, I said. I'll stay. The next few days were the strangest and most wonderful of my life. Lucian gave me the guest bedroom, a beautiful space with a lake view and a bed that probably cost more than my car. He didn't push. He didn't pressure. He just was present. During the day, while he slept. I do not need to sleep, but it is easier to avoid the sun if I am unconscious. I explored his apartment. The bookshelves revealed centuries of collecting. First editions of Shakespeare, illuminated medieval manuscripts, books in languages I couldn't identify, and photos, not many, but a few. Lucian through the decades, always looking the same, but in different clothes, different hairstyles, in different places. One photo in particular caught my eye. Lucian in the 1920s, standing beside a beautiful woman in a flapper dress. They weren't touching, but the way he looked at her. Her name was Catherine. Lucian's voice said from behind me. I spun around. He was standing in the doorway, dressed in jeans and a t-shirt, looking younger and more approachable than in his formal suit. Was she your mate? No. But I loved her. Or I thought I did. She knew what I was. But when she began to age, and I did not... He paused. She left me. Married a human. Had children. Lived a normal life. Did you ever see her again? At her funeral, 1987. She was 89. She lived a good, full life. He picked up the photo, fingers tracing her face, and I was grateful. Because she deserved happiness, even if it was not with me. Do you still love her? I love her memory. I love what she taught me, that I could be more than my hunger. But no. He looked at me. Not the way I feel for you. My heart leaped. Lucian. I apologize. Too soon, I know. He placed the photo back. Are you hungry? I can cook. You cook? I am 800 years old. I have learned a few things. He made pasta from scratch. Actually from scratch, mixing flour and eggs with the ease of someone who had done it 1,000 times. I learned in Italy, he explained as he worked. 1650s. I spent a decade in Florence, studying art and architecture, and food. The Italians take food very seriously. But you don't eat. I do not need to. But I can. It tastes of nothing to me. But I can go through the motion. He looked up. Flour on his face. It is worth it to watch you eat something I have made. We ate dinner on the terrace. Chicago spread out beneath us like a sea of light. Lucian didn't eat, just watched me. And somehow it didn't feel strange. Tell me about yourself, he said. Your childhood, your family, everything. So I told him. About growing up in a small town in Wisconsin. About my mother, a literature professor, who taught me to love books. About my father, who left us when I was 10. About the scholarship that brought me to the University of Chicago. About the 2 years I spent nursing my mother as cancer slowly consumed her. She died on a Tuesday, I said, my voice breaking. I was holding her hand. Her last words were, "Don't be alone, Sophia. Promise me you won't be alone." And you were, Lucian said softly. I had no one else. Friends, yes, colleagues. But no one who truly knew me. I know you. I looked at him across the table. This impossible vampire who had somehow become the most important person in my life in just a few days. Yes, I whispered. You do. On the 4th day, Lucian took me out to experience his world. Not the dangerous aspects, not yet, but the places where vampires and humans coexist. A club that only opened at midnight, where the music pulsed and bodies danced, and half the patrons had eyes that glowed red in the strobe light. Do they know? I asked, watching the humans dance with vampires. Some know. Some suspect. Some just think it is a themed club. Lucian pulled me closer as we navigated the crowd. But there are rules. No non-consensual feeding, no turning, no exposure. And if someone breaks the rule, then I deal with them. You're the enforcer. I am. He guided me to a VIP area, where other vampires watched us with obvious interest. I enforce the council's laws. I investigate violations. And when necessary, I eliminate threats. You kill vampires. When there is no other choice, yes. A vampire approached. Male, handsome, with eyes that glowed gold instead of red. Lucian Thorne, he said, his voice carrying an Eastern European accent. I heard rumors you had found your mate. I did not believe it until now. Marcus. Lucian did not relax, but his tone was polite. Sophia, this is Marcus Volkov. He runs the vampire operations on the East Coast. Charmed, Marcus said, his eyes evaluating me in a way that made me want to hide behind Lucian. She is human. For now, you will turn her. That is her decision. Marcus laughed. Always so proper. Always following the rules. He leaned closer, and Lucian let out a low growl. Be careful, Thorne. Mara is in Chicago, and she is building something. An army, the rumors say. An army of what? Newly turned vampires, dozens of them, all unstable, all hungry. Marcus's eyes met mine again, and all very interested in the human who has captured the enforcer's heart. My stomach clenched. Why? Why do I matter? Because, Marcus said, if Mara can capture you, she can control Lucian, and if she can control the council's enforcer, she can do whatever she wishes. Lucian pulled me back behind him. No one will capture her. Are you so certain? Marcus smiled. The council meets in 3 days. They will wish to meet your mate. They will wish to know your plan. And if they do not like the answer, he shrugged. Well, the council has its own rules about human mates. After Marcus left, Lucian was tense. Dangerous. What did he mean? I asked. About the council having rules. Human mates are complicated. If you remain human, you are a liability. You can be used against me. You can expose our existence. You can... He trailed off. Can what? You can die. And a vampire who loses their mate usually becomes unstable. So they're going to force me to be turned. No. But they will pressure. They will argue. Perhaps even threaten. He turned to face me. Sophia, I need you to understand. If you choose to remain human, I will protect you. Always. But it will be difficult. Dangerous. And you will never truly be safe. And if I choose to be turned, something dark and hungry passed over his eyes, then you would be mine. Completely. Forever. And no one, not Mara, not the council, not anyone, could ever separate us. We stood there in the club, surrounded by pulsing music and dancing bodies, staring at each other. I need time, I said finally. To think. To decide. How much time do you need? I don't know. This is my entire life, Lucian. My humanity. My mortality. I can't just... I know. He cupped my face in his hands. I know. And I am not rushing you. Take all the time you need. But Sophia, his forehead touched mine. No matter what you choose, you are mine. Mate or not, vampire or human, you are mine, and I will protect you until my last breath. You don't breathe. He laughed, the sound vibrating through me. Then I will protect you until my last drop of blood. Better. He kissed me then. Not gently. Not exploratory. This was hunger and desperation and promise. When we broke apart, we were both trembling. Let's go home, he murmured against my lips, before I do something we might both regret. We arrived home to find someone waiting. A woman, tall and elegant, with silver hair and eyes that glowed with ancient power. Lucian, she said, her voice carrying centuries of authority. We need to speak. Counselor Elena. Lucian pushed me behind him. I did not expect you until the council meeting. The situation has changed. Her eyes found mine. Is this your mate? She is human. For now. Then you plan to turn her. That is her decision. Counselor Elena took a step closer, and I felt power emanating from her like heat from a furnace. Dr. Reeves, do you understand what it means to be a vampire's mate? I'm learning. Then allow me to further educate you. She began to circle, and I felt like prey being assessed. Mates are rare, precious, and dangerous, because a vampire with a mate has a weakness, something that can be exploited, used, destroyed. I am aware of the risk. Are you? Are you aware that Mara has 37 newly turned vampires under her command? That she is planning to use them to bring down the council? That you, Dr. Reeves, are the key to her plan? My stomach clenched. How? Because if she can capture you, she can control Lucian. And if she can control the council's enforcer, she can do whatever she wishes. Counselor Elena stopped in front of me. So here is your choice. You can be turned now, tonight, becoming a vampire and removing the liability you represent. Or you can leave Lucian. Go back to your human life, and never see him again. No, Lucian said immediately. She is not leaving. It is not your decision, enforcer. Counselor Elena's voice was steel. It is hers, and she needs to make it now. I looked at Lucian, saw panic in his eyes, fear, desperation. Sophia, do not listen to her. We can figure out another way. There is no other way, Counselor Elena interrupted. Mara attacks in 3 days. If Dr. Reeves is still human, she will be captured, used, likely killed. The only way to keep her safe is to either turn her or remove her completely from the equation. My mind was racing. 3 days. I had 3 days to decide my entire life. What if I choose to be turned? I asked. What happens? Then you become a vampire, immortal, powerful, and bound to Lucian forever. Counselor Elena studied me. But you must understand, there is no going back. Once turned, you will never be human again. You will never age. You will never have children. You will never see the sun again without pain. And if I choose to leave, then you live your life. You age, you die, and Lucian spends eternity alone. The choices were impossible. Both required me to give up something fundamental. How long do I have to decide? Until tomorrow evening. After that, the council will make the choice for you. She vanished as quickly as she appeared, leaving me alone with Lucian. He stood completely still, his face a mask of pain. Sophia. No. I held up my hand. Don't make this harder. I need to think. My voice broke. I need time. Time is the one thing we do not have. Then give me this night. One night to decide my entire life. He nodded, though it seemed physically painful for him. One night. But Sophia, he took my hand. No matter what you choose, know that I love you. I will always love you, even if you leave me. Tears burned my eyes. Lucian, go, think, decide. He released my hand. I will be here. Wait. I spent the night in the guest bedroom, staring at the ceiling, weighing impossible choices. Transformation meant immortality, power, Lucian. But it also meant giving up the sun, children, aging, everything that made me human. Leaving meant keeping my humanity, my life. But it also meant loneliness, because how could I ever go back to my normal life after knowing Lucian, after feeling this connection? By dawn, I had made my decision. I found Lucian in the living room, standing near the windows, looking out at the city waking up. I've decided, I said. He turned, and I saw fear in his eyes, hope, despair, and I took a deep breath. I'm leaving. For a moment, Lucian just stared at me, as if he hadn't heard right, as if the words made no sense. What? His voice was hollow. I'm leaving, going back to my life. It's better this way. Better. He took a step toward me, and I saw raw pain on his face. Better for whom? For both of us. Lucian, I can't give up my humanity. I can't give up the sun, children, aging. I can't become something I'm not. Then you will leave me. It wasn't a question. I'll set you free. So you can find someone who can give you what you need. Someone who can... There is no one else. The words exploded from him. You are my mate, Sophia. My mate. There is no one else. There never will be. Then you'll learn to live without me. As you lived for 800 years before you met me. That was not living. That was existing. You made me feel alive again. And now... His voice broke. Now you will take that away from me. Tears streamed down my face. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Cannot or will not. The accusation in his voice cut me. That's not fair. Fair? He laughed, the sound bitter. Nothing about this is fair. I spent 500 years alone. 500 years feeling nothing. And then you appeared. And for the first time in centuries, I had hope. I had something to live for beyond duty and obligation. And now you are telling me you will throw that away because you are afraid. It's not fear. It is precisely fear. You are afraid to turn, afraid to lose your humanity. But Sophia, he took a step closer. Your humanity is not in your heartbeat or your body temperature. It is here. He touched my chest, right over my heart. In your compassion, in your courage, in the way you see the best in people, even when they do not deserve it. That will not change simply because you become a vampire. You don't know that. I do, because I know you. I know your soul, Sophia, and it is beautiful, turned or not. I wanted to believe him. God, how I wanted to, but the fear was too great. I'm sorry, I whispered, but my decision is made. He recoiled as if I had struck him. Then go. His voice was dead. Go before I beg. Before I debase myself by asking you to stay. Lucian, go! The roar echoed through the apartment. I grabbed my bag with trembling hands. I walked to the door. I placed my hand on the doorknob, and I stopped, because something within me was screaming that this was wrong, that I was making the biggest mistake of my life. But fear was stronger. I opened the door. Sophia. His voice stopped me. I turned. He was standing in the middle of the room, and he looked broken, as if something fundamental within him had shattered. If you change your mind, he said softly, if you need me for any reason, I will be here. I will always be here. I couldn't speak. I just nodded. And I walked out. 2 days passed in a blur of tears and regret in my apartment. I had made the right choice. I had to have. So why did it feel as if I had ripped out my own heart? On the third night, I woke to a sound. Glass shattering. I sat up in bed, heart pounding. Hello, Dr. Reeves. A voice purred from the darkness. Mara. She was standing at the foot of my bed, smiling. I heard you left your vampiric protector. How convenient. I tried to scream, but she moved faster than my eyes could follow. Her hand covered my mouth, cold and strong. Shh. We wouldn't want to wake the neighbors, would we? I struggled, but it was like fighting She was too strong, too fast. I felt a prick in my neck. A needle. Just a sedative, Mara murmured, to keep you quiet for the journey. The world began to darken. Lucian will come, I managed to whisper. I know. Her smile was cruel. I am counting on it. And then everything went black. I woke up chained. My wrists were bound above my head, silver chains biting into my skin. I was in some kind of warehouse, empty, cold, smelling of mildew and abandonment. And Mara was there, watching. Welcome back, she said. I was beginning to think I had over-sedated you. Where am I? Somewhere Lucian will never find. Well, not in time, at least. She approached, fingers tracing my cheek. You know, I almost pity you. Almost. What do you want? I want Lucian Thorne destroyed. I want the council in ruins. And you, my dear Dr. Reeves, are the key to both. He won't come. I left him. Oh, he will come. She smiled, because mates cannot stay apart, no matter how hard they try. The connection pulls them together. And when he smells your blood, she pulled out a knife. He will come right. The blade sliced across my neck. Not deep, just enough to make me bleed. Pain exploded, sharp and bright. There, Mara said, watching the blood well up. Now we just wait. Hours passed, or was it minutes? Time loses meaning when you're bleeding. I was growing weak, dizzy, cold. He is not coming, Mara said, sounding irritated. Why is he not coming? Because I left him, I whispered. Because he is letting me go. Impossible. Mates. The ware exploded. Not open. Exploded. Wood and metal flying like shrapnel. And Lucian was there. But not the Lucian I knew. Not the controlled, elegant man. This was the predator, the monster. His eyes glowed red like embers. His fangs were fully extended, and the fury emanating from him was palpable. Mara! The roar echoed through the warehouse. She smiled. There you are. I was beginning to think you did not care. Release her. Now. Or what? You will kill me. In front of your precious human mate. Let her see the monster you truly are. She has already seen me, and she chose me anyway. His eyes met mine across the distance. Or at least, she chose me before I ruined everything. Lucian, I managed to whisper. I am here, Sophia. I will get you out of here, I promise. How touching, Mara said. But you are alone, Lucian. And I have 37 vampires waiting outside. Do you truly think you can fight all of us? For her? Lucian looked at me, and I saw absolute truth in his eyes. I would fight 1,000. Then let us test that. Mara gestured, and vampires began to flood in. 10, 20, 30, all with red eyes, all hungry. Lucian did not back down. Last chance, Mara. Release her and let her go. You can have me. You can do whatever you wish to me. Just let her live. No. The word exploded from me. Lucian, don't... Shh, love. It is all right. He smiled at me, and it was sad and beautiful and broken. You are worth it. Worth every... How romantic, Mara said. But no, I think I will kill you both. You first, so she can watch. And then her, slowly and painfully, so you can feel it through the mate bond as you die. Then, Lucian said, his voice growing low, dangerous. I suppose I have no choice. He moved. What happened next was carnage. Lucian moved through Mara's vampires like death incarnate. Every move was precise, lethal, brutal. So many more. I watched him get knocked down. I watched claws tear at his flesh. Watched blood, his blood, spread. And something inside me snapped. Not fear, not panic. Fury. How dare I stand here chained and useless, while the man I loved, yes, loved, always had loved, fought alone. The chains were silver. They burned my skin where they touched. But pain was just pain. I pulled. With every ounce of strength I had. I felt skin tear, bones creak, and the chains broke. I don't know how. I don't know if it was adrenaline or desperation or something more. But I broke free. I grabbed a piece of wood from the exploded door, jagged, heavy, and ran into the fray. A vampire was on top of Lucian, about to sink fangs into his throat. I slammed the wood into its back. It screamed, arching, and Lucian threw it off him. Our eyes met across the chaos. Sophia. Later, I said. Fight now. Talk later. Something passed over his face. Pride, love, hope. And then we were fighting side by side. I wasn't a vampire. I wasn't strong or fast or powerful. But I was smart. And I was furious. I used the environment. I toppled shelves onto vampires. I threw chemicals I found into eyes. I fought with tooth and nail and pure stubbornness. And slowly, impossibly, we started to win. Mara's vampires were newly turned. Unstable. Untrained. Lucian was ancient, experienced, lethal. One by one, they fell, until only Mara remained. She stood in the middle of the warehouse, surrounded by her fallen vampires, looking at us with pure hate. This is not over, she hissed. Yes, Lucian said. It is. He moved, and this time, there was no mercy. The fight was brief, brutal, fine. When it was over, Mara lay on the ground, neck broken, eyes empty. Lucian turned to me, and I saw fear in his face. Sophia. I ran to him, threw my arms around him, and kissed him with everything I had. When we broke apart, we were both crying. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm sorry for leaving. I'm sorry for being afraid. I'm sorry. Shh. He pressed his forehead to mine. You are here now. That is all that matters. Lucian, I want to be turned. He froze. What? I want to be turned. I want eternity. I want you. I want all of it. I looked into his eyes. If the offer is still on the table, Sophia, you do not have to. I'm not doing this out of fear or out of obligation. I'm doing this because I love you. The words came out easily. True. I love you, Lucian, and I want to spend eternity proving it. Something broke on his face. Joy, relief, love so intense it hurt to look. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of it. He kissed me then, deep and desperate and full of promise. Then let us go home, he murmured against my lip, and I will give you eternity. We returned to Lucian's penthouse as the sun began to rise. One last chance to see the dawn, he said softly, guiding me to the terrace. After the turning, the sun will burn. We stood together, watching Chicago awaken in shades of pink and gold. Will you miss it? He asked. The sun? Perhaps, but not as much as I would miss you. He pulled me into his arms, and we stood there as the light. Tell me, I said, about the turning. It will hurt, he began. 3 days of agony as your body dies and is reborn. Your bones will break and reform. Your heart will stop. Every cell will die and be resurrected as something other. Will you be there? Every second, I will hold you when you scream. I will wipe your sweat. I will whisper promises when you beg me to stop. Then I'm ready. His bedroom, our bedroom now, and laid me on the bed with reverence. Sophia, he said, his voice tight. Once I begin, there is no going back. You will be a vampire, immortal, my mate forever. Promise, he laughed, the sound half sob. I promise. He lay beside me, his cold body pressed against my warmth. I will make love to you first, he murmured. I want your last memory as a human to be of pleasure, not pain. And he did, slow and reverent, as if we had all the time in the world. His hands memorized every curve. His lips tasted every inch of skin. And when we finally came together, it was perfect. Afterward, as I was still trembling from pleasure, he pressed his face against my neck. I love you, he whispered. For all eternity, I love you. I love you, I responded. Now, make me your. His fangs pierced my skin. The pain was sharp, but then came the pleasure, waves of it, rolling through me as he drank. When he pulled away, his lips were stained with my blood. He bit his own wrist and pressed it to my mouth. Drink, he commanded. Drink and be mine forever. His blood was cold and metallic and somehow sweet. I drank until he pulled me away, and then the world exploded in pain. 3 days of agony, my bones breaking and reforming, my heart stopping and starting again, every cell dying and being resurrected. And through it all, Lucian was there. He held me when I screamed. He wiped my sweat. He whispered promise. I am here. You are not alone. You will never be alone again. On the 3rd day, the pain stopped. I opened my eyes, and the world was different, sharper, brighter. I could hear heartbeats blocks away. I could smell blood. I could see in the dark as if it were day, and I could feel Lucian, not just physically, but deeper, as if we were connected on a level that went beyond the body. Sophia? His voice was I sat up, and he was there, looking as if he hadn't slept in days. He probably had. Hi, I said, and my voice sounded different, strong. How do you feel? I thought about it, about the hunger growling in my stomach, about the heightened senses that made everything too much, about the connection I could feel between us, like a golden thread tying my heart to his. Hungry, I admitted, and like a part of me that was always missing finally clicked into place. Something softened in his expression. You are beautiful, he said. You always were. But now, you glow. Kiss me. He obeyed, and the kiss was different now. More intense. I could feel his emotions through the bond. Love, relief, desire, possessiveness. When we broke apart, he pressed his forehead to mine. My mate, he murmured. My equal. My eternity. Yours, I agreed. For 5 years have passed since that night in the warehouse. I still work at the Newberry Library, though now I have access to texts that don't officially exist. Lucian and I run a program for newly turned vampires, teaching them that transformation doesn't have to be a curse. It can be a gift, especially when you have someone to share eternity with. Tonight, I stand in our private library. Lucian bought the entire building 2 years ago. Watching my mate catalog a newly acquired manuscript. He feels my gaze and looks up, that smile that is only mine illuminating his face. Come here, he says. I go to him, letting him pull me onto his lap. His arms wrap around me, and I feel the connection between us pulse with warmth. What are you thinking? He asks. That I came to work one night expecting to catalog books, and instead I found my destiny. He laughs. Any regret? I think about my human life, the loneliness, the feeling of always searching. And then I think about the last 5 years, the nights in his arms, the centuries we still have ahead of us, the way he looks at me every night as if I am his entire world. None, I say, turning to kiss him. Not a single one. He deepens the kiss, his hands moving under my bedroom, he murmurs. Now. I laugh. Insatiable. For you. Always. I have centuries of love to give you, my Scott. And I intend to start now. Outside, Chicago sleeps, unaware that vampires walk among them, unaware that in a library filled with ancient secrets, 2 immortals are writing their own love story, a story that will last forever. Because when a vampire finds their mate, it's not just for one lifetime. It's for all eternity. And I wouldn't trade my eternity with Lucian for anything in this world. Not even the sun.